So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to grow hazelnuts from seed, from the nuts themselves. I've got 3 different types of hazelnut this year that I'm going to be growing. And I don't know if you've seen my video that I did last year on growing hazelnuts, which was quite successful, as you can see here. Had really good results of that. I'm going to do it slightly different this year, and I'll explain why, but let's get into it. So I brought in some hazelnuts last year from a place called Roughway Farm. These were just Kentish cob nuts, and I bought 1 kilo, and I think, if I remember right, I had about 270 hazelnuts. I've done a video on this. If you're interested, you can go and have a look. That was last year. What I basically did was I just sowed them direct into these sow trays, these tree trainers, root trainers. They haven't put on quite as much growth as I'd hoped. I thought I might get them up to sort of 30, 40. I reckon most of them are 25 centimetres, a few shorter. There's a few taller ones, but they've done really well. So that's basically what I've got. They're sow grown. So that is a little hazel tree in its own sow. These sows are about 6 inches deep, and this was, I think, if I remember rightly, just using my own compost, mixed 50-50. I think we brought in compost. This year I'm going to use purely my own compost because I've now got an excess. I'm self-sufficient in compost now. So that is how I did them last year. But out of 270 nuts, I think I've got about 150 trees, so I'm really happy, very pleased with that. Only cost me like 18 quid for the nuts. But what I have thought about is each tray has got a lot of misses. So there's a fair few misses in there. And obviously when I'm watering and that in the summer, I'm just watering empty sows. So what I'm actually going to do this year is I'm going to sort of pre-germinate the seed. So my plan is to put the nuts into these 5-litre pots, layered with some shredded leaves. I've just shredded up a big trug full of leaves here. These are fresh leaves from this year, just shredded up, because the idea being, I figure, if the squirrels don't eat them and plant them for you, then naturally the nuts would just fall into the leaf litter and would kind of germinate and spring up the following year. So I'm going to try and imitate that by putting some leaves, then a layer of nuts, then some more leaves, then a layer of nuts, etc., all the way to the top until the nuts are finished. And then what I'll do is next spring, sort of, these were, last year I did sycamores and hazels from seed. The hazels were quite a bit later. The sycamores started coming up in March time. I don't think I really had many hazels coming up until probably the end of April. So what I'll do is I'll start tipping them out and having a little look to see if any of them are popping. They tend to pop out the bottom end here, and you'll just see a little green shoot coming out. So I'll tip them out, and as I see them germinating every week, I'll just gently go through them, and any that are actually germinating I'll pot on, so I don't have any misses and I don't have any gaps. It will just save on compost, and it will make it more efficient to water it. So the 3 types that I've got, so basically what I've done, I'm not going to grow any sycamores this year from seed. I've got 120 or 30 over there that I grew last year that I've got to plant out. I planted out 250 that I brought the year before that, or sorry, last autumn. So I'm kind of there with my trees that I'm growing for firewood. I'm pretty much there. I'll still pot up odd seedlings that I find, you know, I'm a gardener, full-time gardener, so I find seedlings all the time, so I'll still pot them up. I tend to get 3 or 4 dozen, I should think, each year, so I'll keep doing that, but I don't think I'm going to bother taking the time to grow 200 or 300 seedlings. I'm just going to concentrate on hazelnuts, because I want to use those to fill in all the gaps, and they're a great tree for wood chip. I want to have a lot more stuff that I can chip. So what I did is I ordered another kilo of the same nuts, the same hazels that these are, the Kentish cob nuts. So that is these here. That's a kilo of Kentish cob nuts. I've just dehusked them. If you order them from Roughway Farm, they come in the husks. I think you can order them dehusked. Obviously it costs a bit more. So these are just a mixture of Kentish cob nuts. I assume there's different varieties in there, and that's basically what they look like. They're a bit of a more elongated nut. Then I picked a couple of hundred of my own nuts, which are actually quite small this year. I don't know why they're so small, but I thought I'd give them a go as well. There's a couple of hundred in there that I managed to get them just before the squirrels finish them off. And then from the same place, from Roughway Farm, I ordered a kilo of a type of hazel called Gunselbert. So these are a heavy cropping hazelnut, if you can see those, and they're slightly fatter. They're a slightly fatter hazelnut, nice big nuts, and they're supposed to be really heavy cropping. And I think the bush itself is a slightly shorter, stouter bush, but they produce big clusters of big fat nuts. So that'd be interesting to try. And obviously if the trees from these are a little bit stouter, I'll make sure I know which ones are which, and I'll plant them on the edges of the woodland and places where make sure that they can get the sun, so they won't be overcrowded by perhaps taller trees. So let's get on with it. Basically what I'm going to do is just put some leaf litter in the bottom, and I will keep this moist through the winter, not sopping wet but just moist. I'll do my own first and keep it moist, but I will put it up on my rack in here to keep it out of the way of mice. So I'll put a few nuts in, and then another layer of leaves, and a few more nuts. I mean, it doesn't really matter, you know, they're just sitting in there. It's just imitating being in the leaf litter under the trees. And like I say, come the spring I'll be knocking them out anyway, going through them and then tipping them back in. Any that haven't started to germinate I'll tip back in, and I'll just keep doing that until I've potted them all on. So I will have to remember what order I've done them in. So they're mine. Number 1, number 2 will be the normal Kentish cob nuts. And like I say, it is important to keep these out of the way of mice, because otherwise you're just going to be giving them a lovely free dinner. So I will put them right on my highest shelving here, and just hope that a squirrel doesn't find them and get into them. Right, that should be enough for one more layer on top. Just sort of work them into the leaves. And I'll put some chicken mesh over the top as well, just to make sure. The last thing I want to do is to lose them. So there you go. These leaves are quite damp, so I won't need to water them. I'll just make sure I check them through the winter and keep them just slightly moist, as it would be sort of outside, obviously. And then lastly, I'll do the Gunselbert. So these, I think it's the same price as they were last year. I think 2 kilos delivered was something like £27. So it's a really good price. I mean, like I say, I did 1 kilo last year, and I've got minimum 150 trees. You can't buy trees that cheap. So this is really worth doing. And now's the time to do it. They've got plenty of nuts in stock. So if you want to give it a go, get on their site or a similar site. I'm sure there's other people selling them too. This is just the one I went with, and get them ordered and give it a go. But yeah, hopefully if I can get 300 or 400 trees out of this slot with mine, then I'm gonna be getting there with my coppice woodland. I'm gonna be pretty much full, I should imagine. And I can then sort of tailor back my tree planting and tree growing, and just be in the sort of maintenance stage, and coppicing for logs and wood chip. But that's it. That's 3 pots done. Mine, the cob nuts, and the Gunselbert cob nuts. So like I say, I'll put some wire over the top. I've got some real small hole gauge wire that I'll wrap over the top there, and I'll keep them up and out of the way of mice and hopefully squirrels. And what I'll do is I'll come back in the spring and sort of show how they're popping and potting them up. But I will do a video later on in the year. I brought this little gadget, hopefully it'll work. I brought this little auger that goes in my drill, and it's just the right size. I'm hoping, I haven't tried it yet. It's just the right size to drill little holes and to just pop these sows in. I think that was like £10 or something off Amazon, and it's just got a hex bit that you put into your drill. I don't know if my normal cordless will do it. I might have to borrow my mate's high torque drill wrench. I don't know what it's called, but it's a higher torque than a standard drill. But yeah, so I'll do a little video planting those later on, and I'll show you these in the spring. But I'm hoping I can get 300 or 400 trees out of there, and then we'll be pretty much done with the woodland. Be pretty full, I should imagine, at that point. But anyway, guys, take it easy, and we will see you next time.